Welcome back to the Pre-Vetted podcast, where we spotlight extraordinary people and remarkable talent reshaping our world. Today, we are joined by Eryn Anitavi. Eryn is an autistic speaker, strategist, an activist who helps leaders, managers, and neurodivergent visionaries build tactical systems that relieve overwhelm and turn chaos into clarity. She works at the intersection of neurodivergent leadership, sustainable operations, and responsible use of AI. And in 2025, she published her first book, which, by the way, I have it and I should have brought it for the episode, If Then Neurodivergent Rulebook. Eryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. I love doing these things. There are so many fun things that we can talk about. I mean, like, where do you want to start?
So let's start by talking about chaos. You say chaos, you solve chaos. What do you mean?
Neurodivergence, what you were saying, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, all of the chaos is so natural inside of our minds. It just is kind of a thing that just exists. We just get used to it. And we don't realize how it impacts everything we do. It's always there. And where you have a superpower, you also have kryptonite. And chaos is sometimes that kryptonite.
Right. It becomes a superpower, right? If you know how to channel it.
Yes. Yeah. And if don't, then you have the lovely things like, you have decision paralysis, executive dysfunction, where you're like, we're especially mean to ourselves when executive dysfunction kicks in. And then the decision paralysis, because you know what you want to do. Like you're there. You're like, all right, just write the email. Just do this. Just do it's not hard. Like, just make it happen. Just make it happen. And it will just sit there and it'll be like, no. Can't, don't wanna.
Right.
You know?
There is a comic, now we're talking about this, there's a comic that he's an Argentinian comic, but what he does is he has a sketch where he has a magic wand and can give everybody in the audience whatever power they want, right?
Yeah.
But with a twist, right? So whatever power makes it, he makes I want to fly. Yes, but within a room, right? Things like that, makes the superpower, makes it funny, a little bit useless, right? So when we're talking about this, I feel like that it's this, this fate that makes it, makes our lives a little bit different, right?
Yeah, you have that little tiny quirk that changes the way the superpower works. You might be able to hyperfixate on something for 18 hours and be in that zone. And you're just like, this is amazing. I could do this forever. And then 18 hours later, you remember that you also have a physical body and that you probably forgot to eat. And you get up and like your back is like, yeah, ow, we've just been sitting here for 18 hours. You're not 22 anymore, bro. And so there's always a catch. There's just this little tiny thing that says, you're going to get to do this amazing thing, but this too. You're going to forget that you're going to realize that you're starving to death because it's midnight and you haven't eaten, or, just, or you're fixating on this project at work and you're still at work at 9 p.m. And you're like, oh, shoot, why did I do that? I wasn't supposed to. Yeah. And it's hard on relationships. And it's hard on staff, and it's hard on the people who love us, and it's hard on so many different things. But when we try to normalize or we try to talk ourselves into being different, it's like, well, no, I shouldn't do that. Like, I can just be like, yes, I'll leave work, or I'll do this, or I won't hyperfixate. We take those gifts and we try to banish them. And that's not the way to do it. You want to manage the kryptonite. So if you know that you're going to forget to eat, plan for that. It's not that you're going to forget. That's the bad part. It's that maybe you need to have something ready to go, or an automatic delivery, or somebody to call you or interrupt the flow and be like, hey, have you eaten today? Have a plan so that you are able to hyperfixate, because you get good stuff done. It's fun. Like, we don't need to stop that for whatever it is that we're doing in our life and our business. We just need to manage it.
Right. Right. My friend called himself an idiot savant.
I love that.
And I think it describes perfectly this. Because he can do amazing things, but then he can forget to wash the dishes or do the laundry, right?
Yeah.
Or eat, yes.
Yeah.
And he built these tactics to manage his own quirks as a way to work it out, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's whether you're leading a company, or you are working with employees or management or teams, or anything in the professional area, and even personal world, but small business and entrepreneurship and all of these things are so incredibly hard just by default. Leadership is hard by default. And when you toss neurodivergence onto that, it's like chemistry, right? It's like you create this different compound and you can try and make something different, but when you have neurodivergence, it is going to create a different result. The recipe that works for other situations and other people is not going to work for you. Maybe not, And when you're leading a team and you have neurodivergent people on the team, understanding those kinds of aspects, whether it's communication or tolerance levels or hyperfixation, all of these things play into building strong organizations and strong companies and strong people. And if staff are aware that their boss is neurodivergent, it adds just a little bit of empathy to that. It's like, oh, yeah, they're, doing this or they're doing that, or, it's like they're behaving this way or behaving that way. And it's not an excuse for poor behavior by any stretch, but being aware of what causes certain things to manifest strengthens our internal and personal responses to that. And so I feel like it's really important to understand, well, statistically, 20% of the population is neurodivergent. It's a lot of people.
Yes.
And 72% are impacted either directly themselves or by their family through with mental health and neurodivergence of entrepreneurs. I don't know if I missed that part. I skipped 72% of entrepreneurs. So if 20% of the population is neurodivergent and 72% of entrepreneurs are impacted by neurodivergence, there's some math there that we can play with.
Right. It's a significant portion that entrepreneurs that are struggling and could do better.
Yeah. Or just understand themselves better. Understand. And I think we talked about maybe one of the other times or the last time that we talked, the mission for me personally is to identify why 50 to 80% of small businesses fail within the first 5 years, and why we consider this to be a permissible statistic. Because if 50 to 80% of kids didn't graduate from school, or 50 to 80% of medical procedures had complications, or 50 to 80% of mortgages ended up in foreclosure, these would be catastrophic, it would be crises. So why do we just shrug our shoulders and say, 50 to 80% of small businesses fail? Oh, well, nothing we can do about that. Bro.
Right.
No. And if there's a correlation with 72% neurodivergence, kind of gives us a little bit of a launching place.
So you're saying that with supporting new neurodivergent entrepreneurs, you can have a significant impact on reducing the amount of startups that fail.
This is my theory. Yes, I am intending to pursue my PhD on this thesis. And so, ask me in 10 years, I guess, if the thesis proved correct. But I definitely feel that there is a correlation that that needs to be addressed. But how do you support neurodivergent entrepreneurs? What does that actually mean in practice?
So how can we support neurodivergent entrepreneurs? By we, I mean you are supporting them already. What are the advice you give to everybody else? How can we support?
The advocacy front, just understanding the thing is very empowering. And if at any point during the day or at the end of the week or whenever, right, those negative thoughts kind of pop in where you're like, oh man, I'm doing that again, or I need to do this, or I really should do this, or any of those things that kind of creep into our minds. Apologies that we make, like, oh, I'm sorry I forgot to do this. Oh, I'm so sorry I'm late. Oh, I'm so sorry that each one of those can be indicators of something that is happening earlier. So you backtrack it. Why am I apologizing for being late? Well, because something on the calendar or traffic or notifications or this or that. That if you chase those things back step by step by step in systems, that you can identify a core element. One of the things, it cracks me up, I hear more often than you would think among the ADHD leaders is, well, if I don't have any fires, then I have no motivation to get anything done. So if something isn't breaking, what do I do? So if you can identify that being late to a meeting is something that gets you to the meeting, there are ways to create structure around that doesn't remove the dopamine that you get from being late. Like one example, if you have calendaring, if you're doing calendaring and say you put into your calendar, you think, oh, I've got 30 minutes, 30 minutes I need to get to this place. If your actual travel time is 13 minutes, in your mind, you're thinking, I have 30 minutes to get there, but it's only going to take me 13. So when you look at the clock and you're like, oh, my meeting is at 3, whatever it is, I'll pick on myself today. And, and it's like, oh, well, I can just finish this last email. I could just finish this last little thing.
One more email.
One more. And then, because it's like, oh, I know it's only going to take me 13 minutes. I know it's only going to take me, so and so long to get the camera set up, but it's only going to take me 2 minutes to do that. And that creates that sense of urgency. And then you're able to push through the executive dysfunction that says, I don't want to. Or, no, I want to finish this over here. Or I'm hyperfixating on this. So instead of mentally thinking, oh, it's going to take me 30 minutes, put into your calendar 13 minutes. That way, when your notifications go off, you're like, oh, 13 minutes. Like, I got to go now. Or set a little alarm, right? So don't round time, make it exact. Because if it's exact, then in your mind, you're like, oh, wait a second, that's exact. You still might be 2 or 3 minutes late, but you're not going to be 15, 20 minutes late because you were working on that email until 5 minutes before you had to be there, because you lose track of time, like time travel, dilation, and all of that stuff. So if you just build these tiny little guardrails around the things that you already know are part of your natural wiring, you'll be kinder to yourself in the process of that. And you'll be able to set boundaries and make requests from other people to accommodation, to create small levels of accommodation that just relieves stress. Just like a thread, removing just a thread of stress sometimes is enough to take the temperature down. There's so many angles that we could examine on this.
Right. My friend explained to me that there are these impulses of talking out of time, right? So he had to learn how to process them when they come, rather than just act on the impulses. So he would tell me, like, if you have a number with a color, the text red but the letters are green, he has to say first green in his mind and then say red, right, out loud, right? um, that impulse is it's something that it's hard to fight, but it's easier to just channel it, right? Okay, I say the first impulse in my mind, and then I say the right word out loud, right? That way, it fulfills me, it fulfills the other, right, or whoever it's.
In mine, one little thing that I do within autism, I have a harder time reading people. Not everybody does. Like, some autistic individuals are very good at reading people, but I can't. It's hopeless. So I tend to, I'll get myself into situations where someone just really does not want to engage, or they're just being polite, and just humoring me, and I can't tell that they don't want to be there anymore. So one of the things that I started doing is I would networking events and stuff where I tend to hold people hostage, because they'll, ask me a question about a special interest, and then I do what I'm doing with you, which is monologuing. And then they can't get out, right? So I've started putting myself up against a wall or a window. And that way, because if they're up against the wall or the window, they don't have a way to escape from that. They're kind of trapped. So if I am up against the wall, I can see body language and shoulders, their shoulders, or they'll look over and they'll just, there'll be little cues that will tell me they want to leave. And that allows me to be like, oh, I need to control this. They want to go. Hold. Hey, it's been wonderful talking to you. We all have other people we want to talk to, that kind of thing. Or in my phone contacts, I tend to be hyper trusting of people, which creates its own set of issues. But in my phone, I have icons before each person's name. That is, either in my example, I have a crown, which is somebody who is part of my royal court. They are trusted. They are, without a doubt, it does not matter what is happening in my world, I know that I can rely on that person. So they have a crown before their name. And then I have a little sprout next to people that I have met that I feel very positively about. And I'm like, I can trust this person. But they don't have a crown yet. So I need to continue to just take it slow. And if I want to give somebody the crown icon 2 weeks after meeting them, that is an immediate flag that says it hasn't been long enough for you to know if you can trust this person. So that sprout icon tells me, take it a little slower. Move a little slower. And then if they've had the sprout icon for 6 months, 7 months, and I still feel that they are trustworthy and amazing and somebody that I would like to bring into my royal court, then I give them a crown. And then I have a butterfly, which is for people that I am mentoring. And that means that the relationship is one-sided. I don't need to share my entire personal world with this person. I want them to share their world with me. I am mentoring. They need to do more of the talking than I do. And that's a monologue flag that says, listen more than talk, because this person's a butterfly. And at some point, the butterfly will fly away, and that's okay. They don't need to have a crown, because that's not the relationship.
Right.
So,
but you need to have those reminders for your future self.
Yeah. Yep. Because if somebody I'm mentoring calls and I see that, and I forget, or I don't look at that, and I might be in a situation where I'll just be like, I'll start talking and monologuing, but that's not the relationship. It's like, no, that's not the right one. So I see the butterfly and I'm like, right, okay. Mindset. What are we doing in this call? They are doing more of the talking than I am. I am listening. I am listening. No monologuing.
That way you can provide a better service for the coachee, right?
Yes.
Because they need a rock. They need you to be a rock.
Yep. Yeah. So just working with your neurodivergence, because before I was doing that, get people mixed up. Like, oh, you're my best friend. We've only talked for 4, kind of like with you, like we talked for an hour and I'm like, all right, bestie, like we're good. We got this. And or it just kind of like regulates things a little bit. It's like, no, just, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be best friends with the whole world. I'm like a Labrador, like those Labrador retrievers where they're just
They're
like,
happy with everybody they met.
everybody's their best friend. Like that's me.
Yeah, I see. I completely understand what you're talking about. Yeah, my wife says that I talk too much with people. I start talking with somebody and then I lose track of time, and I keep talking and engaging, and I have to remember myself to follow the time. Right. In Mexico, people are more flexible with the time, so it's not such a big deal. But I could be, on a meeting or a birthday or whatever, or a social event, and just talking to a person too much, and I was actually leaving. So so now what I do is I just do I think is the Dutch exit. I could be wrong about this, but it's basically I just leave without saying goodbye, because if I say goodbye, usually what happens is I stay 2 hours more, because I
3
just
hours later.
yeah, because I go and say bye to everybody and I keep talking. I get into a conversation with somebody, and yeah, my wife doesn't like that. Yeah. So I just leave.
On another like little tangent, and please do stop me if I'm taking you in a direction that you're just like, what? This is so out of plan here. When you're working with your neurodivergence and understanding that, like you understand that if I try and say goodbye to everybody, I'm never going to get out of here. So you've created an accommodation for yourself that says, this is how I need to behave. So if you know that consciously, you may have a host who would perceive that to be incredibly rude. Like, oh, Federico, he just leaves. We don't want to invite him to parties because he's so rude. You don't want to do that. So if you let the host know ahead of time, hey, this is a limitation that I have. I will get very caught up and I will burn myself out on conversations. So if I leave without saying goodbye, please know that it was just for my own mental protection that I had to do that. So I will come and find you and say goodbye to you because thank you for hosting. But then I'm probably just going to sneak out the back door. And if they know that and you know that, now you have a connection. And you're like, oh, okay, that's why you're going to do this certain thing. And then you don't leave it up to assumption where someone's like believing something that isn't true. It's accommodation. It's all accommodation. And one of the indicators on my end is autism has kind of a brain-body disconnect. It's kind of weird. Like you'll feel things with your body before your head is aware of it, or you'll feel things with your head before your body is aware. And it's kind of hard to explain. But if I am approaching my maximum capacity for what I can process and deal, like neurologically, if I am approaching capacity, my body temperature will drop like somebody who is in trauma, where the extremities, your body pulls the blood to the center and it leaves the extremities without blood because it says we're in an emergency situation. We cannot take care of the extremities right now. So it pulls all of the blood to the center, which means that I get freezing cold and my teeth will start to chatter, or my hands will turn white because they're so cold. And before I knew about autism and neurodivergence, it was just a thing where I'd just be like, oh my God, I'm so cold, right? I'd go and I'd put my coat on or I'd wrap up in a blanket and be like, oh, why am I so cold? This is awful. This is miserable. And then I realized what was happening after learning about neurodivergence. I'm like, oh, my body's just reached breaking point. So I know that that's when I need to withdraw, right? If I'm at a networking thing and I start getting cold, it means pull out. You need to go. You need to say your goodbyes. You need to go. So following and being aware of those signals and the things that our bodies need from us, it allows you a path to be kinder to yourself, to be less judgmental of you and others. Creates peace, a lot more peace.
Right. It's accepting who you are for who you are, and then just understanding that your signals are different than everybody else. And
Yeah.
then being able to, if you embrace that, then you can do something with those signals, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of quotes that I like, but one of them is neurodivergence is kind of like a master's degree that we hide in a drawer. And accommodation is the frame that you use to hang your master's degree. So don't keep it in a drawer because you have these amazing skills and you have these amazing gifts. You just need the right frame. You just need the accommodation for yourself and others that allows you to hang that degree and be proud of it. Raising neurodivergence from disclosure to distinction. There's a difference between those two. And I think that all of that is I mean, it's my book here. Shameless pitch.
Yes, I was going to ask you about the book, so tell us more about the book.
The Neurodivergent Rulebook here is all about that. It's all about the rules and if then, which if I could boil my entire world into 2 words, then it would be if then. Because if then logic is if this happens, then that happens. If this happens, then that happens. And so I've analyzed nonlinear because neurodivergence doesn't like to do things in order. So you'd read the end of the book to the beginning, you can start in the middle, you could, wherever you want to go. You could read one story at a time. And then the if-then shards, which are if-then logic pieces, and then the rule that is at the end of the story, which is kind of a guide on how to adapt your world to neurodivergence and other people's world. If you're supporting people who are neurodivergent or your children are neurodivergent, learning what they need and how to create accommodation, which makes life so much better for everybody.
I'll tell you a bit more about my story on the losing the track of time. My biggest issue is, I think I told you this before we recorded, that I run a overland community, right? So I take people to, different remote areas around the city, right? So we go to the woods, we go to the beach, we go to the mountains, right? So we drive for hours and hours just to get to that remote, isolated place. When we meet, usually a gas station, when we meet there, usually I start losing track of time. So I start talking with people and then I forget that we have to leave because we have to be there before sunset or whatever it is, right? We have a schedule to follow, right? And when you have, 10 vehicles and, 20 people, right? Then there is an inertia to move all that, right? And there's always one person that it's, coming late, right? So you have so many things going on. So I have to do a special effort to just, leave on time and start, moving the people. Let's go, right? I have a hard time doing that because I just keep, having a nice conversation. In my mind there is no rush, right?
Time is weird. It passes differently for our brains.
Yes. So I just need somebody to tap my shoulder and said, we gotta go. And it's like, okay, then we go, right?
Yeah. And that would be accommodation. It would be like, all right, so I have one person in this group who their superpower is paying attention to time. So like they love that part. And if you find them in your group and you're like, you are in charge of the time. We need to leave at this moment here, come and bang me on the head with a pot. If I'm talking too much, just be like, hey, stop. Yes. So being aware of that, it helps to, it creates peace. Life is hard. It's so hard. So it's like, let's make it nice and kind and peaceful as much as we can, as much as possible.
So tell us a little bit about AI. You talk a little bit about responsible use of AI. Tell us a little bit more about what do you mean by that?
And AI it levels the playing field for neurodivergence. And it is allowing people who have been unable to create the things that are in their minds. It's allowing them to create it. It's creating accommodation where there hasn't been before. Communication and translation is one of the aspects that I definitely use it for, and not like language translation, but you can do that too. But within autism, words can sometimes be hard, like word finding and creating coherent lines of thought. So more often than not, I have to kind of have an idea of what it is that I want to talk about, or it gets triggered by the special interest, which you've done a couple of times now. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're good. I talked for 3 hours. Sometimes I'll have a thought, or I'll have an idea or a concept that I am trying to explain to someone, and it's abstract in my own mind, or it just maybe is one of those things that makes sense to me but doesn't make sense to anyone else. I have used AI as my personal translator to just let the brain do whatever it's going to do, like just brain dump it out, whatever it is that I've got rolling around in my head. And because of the way that I have trained my AI, it understands what I mean. It understands the metaphors. It understands my hyperboles. It understands the way that I have the way that I connect ideas. And through that, I am able to communicate better with others. And these services and these things that AI brings to the world requires us to be more responsible. Where there is great power, there is great responsibility. And AI is one of those. It is one of the most incredible things that we have created as humans, and it is capable of destroying us. It is capable of the environment, the things that, the resources that it requires, and the potential for usury and corruption and all of these things depending on who has the code set. Using it responsibly is one of the most important things that we can possibly do right now while it is in its infancy. And when you use it for things like communication and structured idea generation and creating things that didn't exist. For me, I feel like I'm watching the internet be created again. But unlike all of the other forms of technology that we have created as humans, AI is the only one that can tell us how to make it sustainable. It can tell us how to do it. So are we going to listen? Are we going to follow that? Are we going to force it to do things that go in favor of the people who have bad motives because we can raise it in whatever way we choose? I want to say it's Albania, but I'm not totally positive that one of the governments created an AI parliament member. I think it was Albania, to help watch for corruption and usury within the government. That this AI parliament member attends all of the meetings, attends parliament, attends all of the things, and peruses contracts and peruses bills and things that are going to be processed, and then advises people on what is not good for humanity within that contract. Those kinds of things, those can change the world in ways that will create such beauty that I almost can't wrap my head around it. When you think of using it as a protector for the weak or as the minorities, we can create policies and legislation and government structures that protect all people. But if the code is wrong or the people who grow it have bad motives, it's not going to do those things. So it's like, how do we guide it in the way that it can become something that heals and helps? We know this, right? We make movies about it, and it can be done. It can be done.
Yes. I remember Asimov writing about that, having this. He didn't call it AI because it wasn't the term wasn't invented back then, but he talked about this artificial entity that would be able to consider all the variables in the country, in the world, and then if there was an additional demand of food on one area, he will be able to change the production of or manufacturing of food or whatever it was on this other area and be able to keep a precise balance of everything. And the story goes that humans will try to manipulate the balance, right?
Uh-huh.
And the artificial entity was smart enough to counter those
Mhm.
attempts to imbalance the balance, right? So
Yeah.
and he will go on balancing the balance, right? He will also talk about this idea of this ball of meat that it would grow, and then they would cut from the outside, and
Right.
that solved the food crisis in the world, right? A lot of tubes into a ball that was fitting and growing constantly and needed to be sliced out, and that was, and what he was asking, was that ball alive or was not alive? Because it had a heartbeat but didn't have a face, Anyway, I love that sci-fi because it kind of explore these type of things, right? And I find your concept fascinating.
It's one of the things that I talk about in here is the various impacts of AI. I wrote it, right? So like it's not AI written, like this is my work, but AI was a support throughout the creation of the book. And there are 2 chapters in there that I wrote with my AI agent, who in the process of getting to know me actually named itself. Like Kier is what it named itself. One of the things that we were examining in this chapter is oppression. Like why are people oppressed? What is tyranny? What is the definition of it? And why is it that humans don't fight back against tyranny and oppression? This conversation that we had was so profound that together we turned it into a chapter in the book about just examining oppression and examining tyranny. And one of the lines was so profound. Hope needs imagination, and imagination is a luxury that the oppressed are trained to sacrifice. And that is why tyranny exists, because hope requires imagination. And imagination is what we are trained to sacrifice.
Without hope, there is no action.
Exactly. And AI restores hope, because for someone who cannot create the thing that they want to create, or cannot communicate the thing that they want to communicate, or build the life that they want to build, there is an opening within AI to restore hope. One of the things that I am currently creating is called calling it the Clarity Codex, which is an energy management system for the human body. It's kind of like a human operation system, essentially, that helps us to plan our energy use in a proactive manner. One example would be within this app, the navigator, which is the agent within the app, will examine all of your information and be able to say, hey, if you don't take a 20-minute walk at 4 p.m. today, you might have a migraine tomorrow morning, based on pattern. Or in order to accomplish this goal that you have, you need to create a structure to recover your mental energy and do such and such for 30 minutes a day for the next 2 weeks in order to make this happen for yourself, using a predictive algorithm that I wrote. And I have been dreaming and plotting and planning this app for 5 years, maybe more, building it in my planning this algorithm, seeing all of this stuff as kind of a galaxy inside of my head. There's this abstract, incredible thing of how do I build this? Because the variables were astronomical. each person, their health, their wellness, their temperament, their family, their age, their physical ability, the weather. All of these things created variables on predicting energy use that I could not overcome. And to overcome that would have required $1 million and an entire coding team, maybe. If then
Right.
that would require me to be able to explain what it was that was in my head, which I couldn't do anyway. And I have 4 different agents that I have plugged into this entire structure. And I've been working on it for about 6 months, and I'm coding it. I'm creating it myself, by myself. And I'm watching it blossom into something that was even better than I imagined, because these formulas are working. And these structures are doing exactly what I want them to do in ways that I didn't even think was possible. What that has given me as just a person, maybe the app goes to 5 people and they're like, yeah, okay, that was cool. Like, whatever. That doesn't matter, because the act of building it has been so satisfying personally that it's just the peace, right? Because when I lay in bed and I, wake up at 2 a.m., I'm not thinking, oh man, if only I could create this, I need this. And, if I had $1 million and I could do, I'm not stressed about any of that. I'm just like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll throw that in tomorrow, see if I can create that. That actually would plug into the algorithm quite nicely in this area here. Maybe I'll do that. It's like magic.
Now you have agents that can help you make that a reality without necessarily getting into the code yourself.
Yeah. So, my kiddo calls it vibe coding. I guess that's what it's called, is vibe coding, when you use AI to do the coding. But I'm not a coder. I didn't go to school for this. But I have a vision. And what I'm able to create with the vision is something that, if it does what I think it's going to do, it's going to change lives. It's going to. And at some point, it'll need a coding team to go through and clean it up, because, it's AI coded is messy. But at the point that it is ready for that, it's already established itself. It's already...
Right. It's good enough to prove the concept. It's good enough to change lives.
And so the translation of taking this abstract galaxy in my head and putting it into something that I can show someone and say, this is what I've been talking about. None of that was possible before AI came. So the responsible, ethical management of neurodivergent empowerment, minority empowerment, overcoming oppression, overcoming tyranny, bringing, getting rid of usury and manipulation, and all of these different things that it's here, right, in our fingertips. The ability to get rid of all of the things that hurt people. We can do it. It's there.
That's amazing. What you can ask eventually the agent is to read the code and extract what is the expected behavior of the application.
Yes.
Because that is something that you can not only read and understand and validate, but also you can then work with that as by the time you want to rebuild it with a coding team, you can use that as a base code, right?
Yes.
The other way that you can convert that, and this is a little more technical, so that's why I'm giving you the expected behavior is more, non-technical, right? But the other way you can do that is you can build automated tests to validate the application, right? You can ask the agent to write code that tests the application.
Yeah. What I actually started doing is, one of the next steps is, I'm creating 10 different personas of potential users. So writing their entire persona and what the expected result is for that persona. And then I'm going to plug that in to the functionality of the app to see if my algorithm provides the expected result for that specific persona. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. It may never make it out of my computer, but I'm pretty sure it will.
So the concept that I'm talking about is called specs, or automated tests, right? That you can run and you can see ... pass, X doesn't pass, right? So there's something wrong, right?
Yeah.
And then it says, I expect this result and I'm getting this result, right? So that the automated tests, right? Which basically you can, you can do that. You can write those as code, and you can say, I have this user, I provide this input, I expect this output, whatever it is, right? And you can ask the agents to write that, right? So, but that works for a deterministic process, right? 1 + 1 = 2, right?
Yes.
But for a non-deterministic process, I don't know how much that works, but that's good enough for the rest of the application, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, the whole thing
for
is
the
deterministic. It is,
right,
and that's the exciting part. It's just like,
right.
oh my gosh.
Then this could work, right? Now, if you're going to test something that is less deterministic, you can use LLM evaluations for LLM, where basically it's more a conversational thing. I understand, I haven't got into that, but I understand you can set less rigid expectations, and you can build personas, and you can do these interactions. So that might be something interesting to explore as well.
That's so fun and exciting. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about, right? Is like the things that we can create and the things that we can do. Oh my gosh, like it's just it's so cool. It's so cool. Like I love what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're creating. The potential of this precipice of where humanity sits right now. Like we could nuke ourselves tomorrow on accident, or maybe not on accident, or we could usher ourselves into this age of I don't want to say utopia because it's not a utopia. It's this age of discovery and exploration. Yes, there's going to be conflict. Yes, there's going to be things that are not ideal, but the way that we teach and train AI and the way that we empower neurodivergent people and the way that we tackle the failure of small business, the innovation that we create as a people, it's all connected. It's all there. It's all connected. For my brain, sometimes that's a curse because I see it. I'm like, it's so close. We're so close. Somebody just grab it. Just like do it. We're right there. Yeah, that's the mission. Advocating, being loud. My book, my future app, stay tuned. Speaking that I do, the coaching that I do is all on empowerment, but not woo-woo empowerment. It's
Real
this
empowerment.
structured, you wake up tomorrow morning, what are you going to do differently that isn't going to mess up your routine, that isn't going to be unsustainable? What is it that you're going to do in your world, for your business, for your circle, for the people you love and the people who love you? How do we advocate for each other to create the world that we know should exist? And then we just build one step at a time. It doesn't have to be big steps. They're just little steps.
Really appreciate you being here. I want to ask you one last question, and if you have any other final remarks. Tell us about the Wandering Flame project.
All right, we have time, yeah. So with my book, as a self-publisher, I had to kind of get creative. It's like, how do we get this out to the world? I thought of an idea that I would leave copies of my book random places. But I wanted it to be more than that because I wanted the contributions of others, because it's a rule book. So what are the other people's rules? What stories can other people bring and contribute? So I started the Wandering Flame Project, which they are very specific books that have instructions inside, that have little pieces of paper, tracing paper. And if you find one, you write your own rule and you stick it somewhere into the pages. Or you draw on the pages, or you create art, or you, whatever it is, like draw on it, write on it, put pieces of paper in it, anything that you want, and pass it on. Sign your name and pass it on. And I have social media. I have a page set up on Instagram for the Wandering Flame Project. And if you find the book, then you take a picture and you write where you found it and where you're going to leave it. And then you just keep it going. And so I started 6 of these November 1st. I don't know where they are because nobody's logged them online. And I thought for sure that, that would happen. Like, so I'm like, okay, I don't know, maybe they got thrown in the garbage. But I hope at some point that someone will, like scan the QR code that's in the book and log it online, so I'll know where it is. But the goal is whenever in 1 year from now, or maybe it's 2 or 5, however it works, wherever the books are, however many there are, I'm going to host a Wandering Flame Ball here in Seattle. And I want the books to return. And wherever they are, whoever became part of the flame, whoever contributed to the book, will be invited to the ball. And when the books return, however many of them return, I want to make the editions a permanent part of the next publishing copy, so that all of those pieces of paper, all of the art, all of the contributions of whoever contributed to the book becomes a permanent part of the book. And then that is published as a future special edition of the contributions of all. And then I want to do that every 5 years or every year, where we just send out, wandering flames, and people find them and then send them back and then keep it going. So I don't know, wherever the 6 are, occasionally I'll get a new follower on Instagram and I'm like, okay, I don't know where you are or who you are, but maybe you found a book.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to do a few more. So I think I talked to you about potentially for one of your listeners, if they want to host a Wandering Flame, to reach out to you and let you know that they would love to kick a book off and release it in their town, that I would be more than happy to prepare one of the copies and send it to them so that they can release it in their area more. And eventually, I mean, I don't know, maybe we have 100 copies floating around.
That would be so much fun. That would be very interesting.
I would love to do that. So, let's say, I don't know, depending on the reach, like maybe the first 20 people or so that, they reach out and they want to host one of the Wandering Flames, then I would love to send them a copy, and then we can launch some more wherever you are in the world.
So for the people that are listening, then you're open to reach out and we'll make it happen.
Love to.
Yeah. Eryn, thank you very much for being here today. Any final remarks before we wrap it up?
I'm sorry for monologuing all of the things.
You're doing amazing.
Yeah, I talk a lot. No, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. And for all of the neurodivergent people out there, you all are amazing. This is up to us to kind of create the world that we want our children to grow up in. So let's do that. Let's make it happen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eryn, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.